But people have to become aware that the government is the enemy for it to happen, because then the people would, theoretically, make sure that everything evil that this government is doing stops and would not reinstitute it, and would create safeguards against it. And there are many, but it would take a long time to go over all of them. It can be done. We could end war. You could do it by making a pact with all countries. They would be forced to sign on that all militaries would drop every year or two by a certain percentage. It would be smaller and smaller, and it would be under surveillance, the only kind of surveillance that this evil government should have, not on citizens, but on weapons going around the world. We are the weapon deliverer of the planet. We are the evil garbage man. We deliver the weapons. We could stop that, and we could stop the delivery of weapons around the world and expunge it if we wanted to. We could do it.
The war question,
not
though,
by supporting the two-party system and this government.
The war question isn't as complicated as that, I don't think. For instance, in Sweden and Switzerland, there are two countries that haven't had a war in 200 years. So even little Vermont...
Sweden was involved in the war, in World War II.
No.
Oh,
they
yeah.
were neutral.
They were professed neutral, but there were fascists in Sweden who helped Hitler in Sweden.
Yes, a significantly large number of Swedish citizens volunteered for the German army. But
they had actual leaders, too. I mean, look at Norway. Well, you're not claiming Norway was part of it, but the very name Quisling, which is a traitor to one's people, comes from Norway.
Yeah.
This leader, Quisling, betrayed his country to the Nazis.
But
he's the George W. Bush of
Swedish
Norway.
government remained neutral through the Second World War, so the Swedes were never drafted to fight in the war. Mm-hmm. And in Switzerland, the same thing, and Switzerland was right in the middle. So little Vermont can end war without...
Well, the single biggest thing Vermont could do, two things, is stop paying money to the federal government in any way, shape, or form, and that's from the state and from the citizens, and immediately call back the Vermont National Guard from raining death upon innocent people. They could do those two things immediately, and we'd actually be a cleaner state. We're not. Our hands are bloody. We allow this to go on. We don't need to allow it. We're not powerless.
If we did that, the young Vermonters would not be coming home with PTSD.
Right.
And that's a big disruption for the Vermont society. We have all these people around the state now with PTSD.
Discarded by this government.
It's a tragedy for them, and it's also a tragedy for the Vermont society.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, an enormous series of steps forward would occur if we first mentally disengaged our adherence to the concept of following this government in every way imaginable. We first have to take that step, and then we can take the step to actually be independent from it in a technical sense and do the kinds of things we're discussing, disengage from these god-awful wars, as if any war isn't. You know, war is basically organized murder, is what it is. War is a nice, pretty little name covering up an ugly sewage of death. And, you know, for us to be involved in that, it makes me sick. And we are. Vermonters are involved in it because we allow it to continue. We don't need to. We can't stop the federal government, but we can stop being part of it.
You're more radical than I am. I would take a prudent approach. If we can get a bill through the Vermont State Legislature for independence, I will vote for it. I would even sponsor it. But I'll stop short by I will continue to vote for Obama. I voted for Obama. I will continue to vote for him. I think that the health bill that he put through the Congress is probably better than nothing.
Well, in the sense that it gets us off a dime, which is a very anachronistic, dumb system, yeah. But it's a halfway measure to chucking it to and getting to something that will actually be good for us, is how I see it. I thought it was a good thing when it passed, even though it's garbage.
We agree about that. We
because it gets us off the old system.
Yeah.
We need a lot of change. We need to get in our heads the idea that change is good, and even if change goes down the wrong road, in some ways it's better because you aren't continuing the status quo that could never seem to end. It shows that it can end. It gives us that enlightenment.
For a very long time, no national bill was passed
Right.
for health care. So just passing a bill, even though it's not a good bill, was better than nothing.
No, that was my conclusion as well.
Yeah.
But I think it's a terrible bill. It's a terrible law. It just says that, okay, we changed from the old system, now let's change this terrible new thing. Because we can do it, because we just did it.
I lived in Canada for over 2 years, and I had the state health insurance,
Yeah.
and it was absolutely wonderful. It's like night and day between what we have here.
I know.
And as
We
far
are
as I'm
so
concerned,
medieval in so many ways.
the only way to go is single payer national.
100% correct. Because what it would do is it would lower the rising cost of health coverage immediately, like that. The constant upticks that the insurance companies want to charge you for, and your premiums constantly go up, that would all stop. There wouldn't be the need for an insurance company. Now, that's not to say the Michael Moore solution is good. I thought the Michael Moore solution was terrible, which is outlawing private insurance. Let private insurance continue at its enormously high rates, but you have a single payer system that would undercut all the costs of this terrible system that we have now, and everybody would sign up for it. Make it voluntary. You don't have to outlaw the bad system to have a good system. You put in the good system as a choice to the bad system, and everyone will go to the good system. That's what should have happened in Washington. The public option thing they kept talking about, that means that there are not going to be any brakes on the rise of insurance costs. They're going to go up and up and up, and their percentage of profit that they're going to make is going to go up and up and up. I mean, it's a terrible bill. It really is. It institutionalizes a system that before could have been changed. It still can be changed, but we have to get rid of that bill entirely.
I wouldn't make it voluntary, though. Voluntary means that the young people wouldn't sign on, and but
No. I disagree. They would be covered automatically if they're young and their parents are part of it. Parents aren't stupid. They don't want their kids to die of staph infection. They would go for the voluntary single payer, and the kids would be covered until the kids were of an age when they could buy it by their own. And if they chose not to, they'd still be covered. They just wouldn't be paying into it. They would be paying into it after they needed it. It would be an automatic. Like, you have a broken arm, young people get into big scrapes. You got a broken arm, you go to the hospital, you don't have single payer coverage. Well, okay, we'll fix your arm, but from now on, you're paying into the system. Because you just created a big bill. What are you, leeching off the other people who are paying the system? And it would be, in that case, voluntarily you go to the doctor to get your arm fixed or the hospital, and then afterwards you'd be paying into the system.
I would copy the Canadian system. I would pay for everything with tax money. So nobody would have to sign on, of course. If they wanted to be sick and stay home, they could. But it would all be paid for, so that if they went to the hospital, it would be free.
What are the taxes that the Canadians use?
Well, the taxes are higher, but now what
which specific taxes do they draw from? Or is it a general pool?
The income tax.
The income tax.
Progressive income tax.
Okay, fine. It could work through the income tax, but doesn't have to be just the income tax or only the income tax. It could, by that I mean it could be it could be a continuation of Social Security. That's what I think. Payroll deductions. First of all, the Social Security tax is very regressive, which is bad. It could be lowered and the cap taken off so that the percentage could drop.
Well, Craig, we're running out of time. I want to thank you for coming. And the general election is on November 2nd. And I urge everyone in Bennington County to consider voting for Craig to put him into the state Senate. And I'm hoping to go into the Senate to represent Chittenden County. And I'm looking forward to working with you, Craig, in the Senate. And thank you for coming, and it's been very interesting.
And we're all about improving the welfare of Vermonters. As the first line of the Constitution, it was written to promote the general welfare, which is another part of the Constitution that has been lost under this regime, which is to say since Reagan, essentially, as far as I'm concerned.
And for our viewers at home, I want to thank you for tuning in. And I'll be back again next month with another episode of Vermont Today.